I know. What a long break. It's been a full, 10 minutes since you've seen me last? We're starting every episode by reminding you guys of a couple things. First, this is the Grappling Hour. My name is Rafa Esparza. Two, this is our hashtag Save Jiu-Jitsu Gyms interview series, where we are talking with business owners who are telling the stories and the struggles that they face in light of the coronavirus pandemic. We've got a few things to talk about today. We just had a great conversation with Jay Pages. Our guest today is a dear friend. He's an individual who, first of all, he has a podcast. So I don't know if I'm going to yell at him about that. I'm still debating. Maybe, maybe not. Just a genuinely good soul, a good person who was in the process of opening up a new gym over in Barrie. And you got to feel for somebody who not only does the rest of the jiu-jitsu community who have gyms have issues going on, but to start a business brings up an entirely new set of issues that we need to look into that I think is important to cover. So we're going to talk with our friend, Stephen Eakin. Steve, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, my friend. I haven't figured out if I'm yelling at you about your podcast yet because it's very nice. It's very short form. It's very uplifting and you do a good job of putting out that content. Obviously, you're a very busy man, and I know you had to scale back a lot of that work because you were getting prepped to open up your new gym, right?
Right. And yes, and the city's actually Perry with a P, Georgia.
Oh, Barrie, sorry. So Perry, not Barrie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to remember there is a Barrie, Georgia, right? In Georgia.
I think so, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Yes, there's a university for sure.
So
I don't know if that's
that's
city,
what my dumb brain went to.
Gotcha.
You said, because I've seen it and I've seen the shirts for it, but in my brain I was like, oh, well, Raph, Barrie, Georgia, because you competed there. So remember that.
Yeah.
That's how I remember things. But that was 15, 16 years ago. So
yeah.
Who can ever say?
Yeah, I do. I have the little podcast, a short, the American Dream podcast. It's mostly just me, probably waking up in the morning, having some coffee, just kind of ranting about the things I was thinking about or things that happen, in the gym or whatever throughout the day. Kind of like a verbal meme sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes it definitely did get personal and really touching because I guess I am that kind of guy. I don't, it's just it is who I am. And then I have some with some friends that are really cool and fun, and we talk some trash and you get to know me a little bit more through my conversations with some of my friends. Besides probably just me talking and keeping it blue white collar or whatever.
Well, think about it like this. Every form for a podcast needs to serve some sort of demographic. So, I don't assume my reach is going to be as strong in the South because I just don't train there as much. So to me, whenever I see somebody who starts a podcast, I get happy because I think that means I'm going to get to hear about those grapplers who may not be on everybody else's radars yet.
Right.
The one thing I do like to pride myself on is I usually try to have an ear to the ground to say well, who are those next people? Or who are those people that people who I trust and know and love? Who are they telling me to look out for? And when I see and hear those things, that's what makes me go, oh, yeah, nice. Okay. I was up on Keith Kokori, and I knew that was going to happen.
That little jerk. Yeah, man. Yeah. He did he quote came out of nowhere, but not if you knew him.
Right.
It was written all over the wall for a while that he was going to be pretty special.
And that's the beautiful thing is you get to be part of the come up and you get to see their journey from the very beginnings. And it's always wonderful and fun to see. So for me, cool. I believe that. Where did you decide to get the idea to start doing the podcast though?
Honestly, just hearing other people, doing podcasts, and then Brandon McCatherine had his podcast that he was doing. That was BJJ 365, and he was doing a bunch of little short 10, maybe 15-minute little things. And I thought that was pretty interesting in a way that you could express yourself and get some of your philosophy and thoughts and stuff like that out to a broader public, just easier. So I kept talking about it, and one day my wife just showed up with one of the little microphones that you could plug into the bottom of your phone, and said, "Stop talking about it and do it." And so I just started doing it because she brought the microphone. I didn't have any other choice.
Yo, I think that's dope. That's the best, dude. That's the best. My wife can't take the microphone from me fast enough. She's usually like, "All right, we got to put this down. You gotta go take a walk or play with the dog or something." That's true support. So, very, very cool things for you. Let's talk about this, dude. Where did the name, The Dream, come from?
It really is kind of like a bit of an all-encompassing thing now over time. It mostly kind of started as a joke with me and one of my friends that I was training with. We would come into the gym and we cut promos on each other every day right before training, and just people that didn't know us thought we were absolutely crazy because we would just say the most crazy thing to each other, and then walk out there and have fun training, trying to kill each other. And I always like Dusty Rhodes. He's a relatable character for myself because I'm a chubby, guy that's from the South or whatever, and I feel like I have a lot of charisma in the right moments, and I like to have a good time. And then really the one that did it was I saw the Hard Times promo, and where he goes off about I may not look like the athlete of the day. My belly's just a little big. My hind is just a little bit big, but brother, I'm bad, and everybody knows I'm bad. And I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna make it that. So I just had a run of shirts made, and sold a bunch of T-shirts with it on there, and put the hashtag "Don't Stop Believing," and that was it. We were off and running with the American Dream nickname, and just kind of like I said, it just kind of started encompassing everything, just like really trying to chase whatever the current dream is, and trying to make it a realization instead of just something in my head.
I mean, I love it, dude, and I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, so this is my bread and butter. And I have to say, growing up as a kid, I didn't identify with Dusty Rhodes because I always saw him as more of a manager until I started to grow up a little bit more. And it felt like every year removed, I got to be like, oh, I see what he was. And I saw why before I was around, he developed this reputation. And then when you found out he was a booker and had his hand in a number of things behind the scenes, it was so revered in the community. You get that impression of like, oh, that's a really cool way for a dude to have had that much impact on an industry in such a huge way and such a quiet way at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting character as a person, Dusty, like you said, because I think when I was growing up too, it was more, he was probably in the polka dots mostly at that time. So it was more just like the silly dancing around Dusty Rhodes. But then as I got older, I went back and saw more of the old stuff that he had done, and how hardcore like Dusty really was, and the feuds with Ric Flair and stuff like that was like, it's classic, man. That job was epic. And then, like you say, find out he literally had his finger on everything, and so many popular people and people that and think are cool now's career were guided by probably some advice from him. That's really cool.
Yeah, and man, what a legacy. So you picked a good one, dude, because I got to say that from the moment I saw the dream go up, I always have to do this with pro wrestling. I have to assume it first and then immediately be like, I don't know if they're a fan. I'm not going to assume that. So I was just like, oh, it's got to be Dusty Rhodes. Like, if somebody says like, hey, here's this one guy, he's really full of himself. He's got machismo, and I'm like, the bad guy Razor Ramon? And they're like, no, I'm describing like a chauvinist pig in a character movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, where did never mind. Bad guy Razor Ramon's cool too. So I always check that about myself.
Same.
Steve, let's backtrack just a little bit here. I want to get to know how your beginning started, because I know one of the things that's great about your like fight career is that every once in a while you'll post one of those, and I never knew you when you were a fighter. I might have seen clips, I might have heard about you from other people, but I didn't know you. So it's always hard for me to have that association because I wasn't part of your journey then. When we got conjoined now, and I see all of your posts, and you're regular with a number of my similar friends, it's less surprising to think you're a fighter, but it is cool to every once in a while be like, oh, dope, that's some fight footage I've never seen.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. And I think the one I found yesterday, someone just randomly tagged me in an old video someone had from that night, and I've never seen, I don't think, the actual video of that fight. So a lot of that stuff is really cool, and that's actually one of the things I'm doing with the podcast too. Is I do go back and kind of talk about some of the fights, and like not just go back and score the fight, but I try to like talk about what was going on between fights, and even some of the mistakes that I know now were clear bad choices on my part that I felt like were the right move or whatever. It's a really, really cool thing to look back at that. But that was like so I started in 2008, literally just on a whim. Got on some online forums and started talking to some guys that were in San Bernardino, California, that were trying to start like a college that would have an MMA team. And they were just trying to get anybody out there, I guess, that would fight. And so I literally flew out there and like did a tryout and made the team and started, moved from Georgia to San Bernardino for the first time, literally, like never having left my little small town of like, I don't know, 12, 13,000 people or something. And just picked up and left all at once. And just never looked back, honestly. Never really wanted to like stop once I started for fear of like going back to some worse life that I was trying to get away from. And so through the years, I was in San Bernardino for about 3, I think, or 4 years. And then I went back to Georgia for a few years. And then that's where I did most of my fight career, was in Georgia. So that's why a lot of the footage are like in barns or like airplane hangars or
Bro,
different things
you
like
have
that.
to forget, MMA doesn't always have the most glorious record of like, when you look at somebody's record, it doesn't tell you it was the Pizza Hut down the street. It doesn't tell you those things. It just says that's your record. So you're not the only one, my friend. There's a lot of guys who we talk to and they're like, yeah, dude, I was at a bar and they had some fights going on, and I just said one day I'll sign up for one of those.
Yep. So yeah, dude, that kind of stuff is just crazy, and just fought like, I guess, as hard as I could. Probably not as smart as I could always. Ended up 12-6 professionally, and then when I ended up in San Diego, whenever about 5 or 6 years ago, that's how I started with 10th Planet. When we just moved again, my wife got another job, and or the same job, gave her a promotion rather. And so we moved to San Diego and tried out a bunch of different places because I was going to fight and didn't really find the right fit. Went to 10th Planet San Diego, met Richie, met Manolo Hernandez, the MMA coach there, and really like had a good vibe with those guys almost immediately. So I threw myself into that world, and I already had one son at that point, or I already had my son at that point, and I was still trying to fight, but it was getting tougher having a kid, living in San Diego, being selfish with everything. But I was still like actively pursuing it because I knew that I had a chance to probably get somewhere doing something still. And ended up doing one fight when I was with 10th Planet San Diego, out in San Diego. But after that one, 3 or 4 different events fell through, different fight camps kind of fell through close to the end of it. I had another kid and my daughter, and it just really was like the fighting wasn't really worth it anymore.
Yeah.
The everyday struggle. Like I realized I didn't love it anymore like I needed to do it the right way. So I always said that I would step away whenever I realized that, because it's too dangerous to go halfway. Like you got to be full on committed, or you get really hurt. So thankfully I was there with Richie, or Boogeyman for most people probably think, and he was like, dude, you just need to like go all in with jiu-jitsu, dude. I was still brown belt at this time. he's like, you just need to start doing jujitsu like full time, competing, and stuff. And so I just dropped the kickboxing classes and the MMA wrestling classes and stuff, and just started going to 2 jujitsu classes a day and going to more just grappling and stuff like that. And then really my jujitsu kind of took off, and that's when I started getting into more of the bigger tournaments for jujitsu. And I think that's probably more people like you probably started getting to see me more, because my fight career was a little bit under the radar for sure.
Well, what always happens is when you get folks who have a circle, like, because we've been covering MMA for just as long as we've been doing jiu-jitsu, so I would see clips, but a lot of times clips don't have a face value to me. It's a guy in a cage, unless I know their story or I've talked to that person. And sometimes I can know of somebody and they fight. And I think for a while I knew a little bit about that, but I didn't know much more than, what, say, our
Had some
friends
fights.
tell me. Yeah, you had some fights, went pretty well for you on a number of occasions. And all things considered, a lot better than some jiu-jitsu people. I won't name names. But when that happens, to me, I just think like, oh, okay, so that guy wants to be a fighter. And then you get to know you personally, and I'm like, yeah, dude, he's really nice. And he's got a good head on his shoulders, seems like a good family man. Like, that's a tougher time to fight, I know, for a lot of people. So I guess the question I have, though, is what made you want to fight?
So everything kind of is like, growing up and being in a family of tough guys, pretty much in the local area was a big part of it. My dad and my uncles and stuff are really known for being like tough bar fighters or whatever, I guess. And then, dude, and truthfully, a huge love of professional wrestling was really a big, because I used to tell people that I was going to be a professional wrestler when I was a kid, that that's what I was going to do. So then time changed or whatever, and I grew up, realized about the scripted nature of it.
Sure.
And then UFC came out right about the same time that I was old enough to make the switch. They this new thing that was actually what I thought it was came out, and so like that was why I always kind of wanted to do it. And then what really made me finally go do it was I was just in terrible shape. I was like 375 pounds. Not living a good life. And so the opportunity when somebody finally said, "Hey, you can come and do this," I was like, "Shit, that's a sign." Like I've never had anybody tell me I could come and do it, so I'm just gonna go do it and see what happens. And like I had been in a lot of fights too, street fights or whatever, bar fighting or getting boxing gloves on with friends and stuff, nights, and doing stuff like that for pretty much my whole life too. So I've always been kind of a natural fighter, I guess. But it kind of this is a good thing to talk about a little bit with the gym stuff that's going on now too, though. But like it really turned into like an outlet for me, and like a way for me to realize that I didn't need to be like angry and stuff like that all the time about stuff, and it gave me a way to put my energy in a positive place rather than not really having anywhere to go or anything to do, no real goals and stuff like that every day. So once I got into it, it really shifted from I'm going to beat some people's ass to, man, this really makes me feel good about myself, beyond just knocking people out or whatever. So that's really, I guess, like 2 answers in one about it.
That's great, dude. You meet a lot of MMA fighters, you meet a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, you don't know the reasons why they would do what they do. So to me, it always is very interesting. And I would have never have guessed you wanted to be a professional wrestler first. I think that you have the similar thing with Boogie, where Boogie's somebody who like was like, yeah, I love the Ultimate Warrior. But if I were to be like, I mean, if somebody came at a deal with Boogie and gave him the chance to be a pro wrestler, I'm sure a different lifestyle could have happened. Sure. But it's all about following passion. And for me, I'm always like, yeah, but a lot of us like something. It doesn't mean we're going to be that.
Gonna do it. Yeah.
Things change over the years. So that's why I'm like, Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense that would kind of come and go as it would seem. And right at the time, I guess, especially with MMA, it has the element
I was
of,
like 10 when the first UFC came out. I was like 10 years old.
yeah, and
So
being
I
really
was
formidable
starting,
at that time too. Yeah.
yeah, I was starting to become a little man in my mind, and
Yeah.
like was ready to figure out the world or whatever. And like I thought about the military, but honestly, I was too fat. They told me I was too fat when I went, and so I was like, well, if you must not need help then. So I never went back. So I just was looking for some kind of something, I guess, always to have that team camaraderie, working together, struggling together, kind of thing that must have been missing, and that's what I was looking for, I think.
And like you said, just the difference between everybody else saying no and then a group saying, yeah, do this
Yes,
makes
yeah,
a world of difference in terms of like, yeah, I'm about to do that. So you ended up, man, going from 370, that you get that real jiu-jitsu drop down weight. You get that real change difference kind of life happening with you.
It was weird because you go from a point two to where like I started realizing sometimes my guard breaks weren't so good. Maybe my belly was just bigger than people's legs. People started being able to hold me in their guard. I was like, wait, you couldn't hold me in your guard last month. What's going? This is hard now. So I had to figure out a new game, you know. So it was really, really interesting. I literally had to start from the bottom too all the time. My jujitsu coach at the time was just like, if you get put on your back, you're gonna die. So you just got to start from here until you stop doing that, you know. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's it. And so I really got good at not being held down if I didn't want to be held down, and being able to really just. That's the hardest thing for a lot of people too, is just getting up. Like
Yep.
honestly, like it metaphorically and actually, like
Yep.
just getting up off the floor over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then that's how you can build some character. And that was it. It started that way. And I really just, I don't know. I didn't think I was going to be that great at first because, like, I was getting my ass kicked a lot, like everybody does. But I was like, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to beat people up. Like, that's what I do. That's what I've always done. And then I literally could not beat up 140-pound men, that were little guys.
Right.
And it was really, it was really humbling and like exciting though, because it was different. And then the people were different because they were all driven. Like everybody was really, really motivated, and not just for themselves too. Like everybody was motivated for you because they needed you to be there as a good teammate with a good attitude, healthy and well fed. Different things like that too. And you realize a different sense of community. I think that a lot of people don't get in their regular everyday lives. And so I think I really just like once I started and got into it, I was like, this is something that I've got to have like forever, and then I'll do whatever it takes to keep it.
So let me ask, when did you fall in love with jiu-jitsu?
Oh, probably after my first few really bad kickboxing sessions, because I had done some jujitsu, but like I said, I was really only getting up from the ground a lot and wasn't really able to do a lot of it, and thought that I was going to really be able to do a lot of beating people up, standing up, like I was going to knock people out, like like everybody, I'm going to go knock some people out. I'm a big dude. That's what I'm going to do. And then, like I said, I couldn't do it. Like these 140-pound guys, I couldn't hit them before they would exhaust me and beat me up or whatever. And then, like, I started finding my first success with some jujitsu stuff. Like, and then I realized if I use this mostly, I won't get hurt that bad. And it wasn't really that much about not, I'm like the reverse Damian Maya. Like it wasn't so I don't hurt them. It was so that I don't get hurt.
Right.
I want to use jiu-jitsu, but then I'm going to punch them in the face very hard once I get them out to make sure that they don't get back up. So it was very basic and very simple. But once I realized that I could do that and really like use it in a technical way to hold people down and use sweeps, and technically stand up off the ground and different things like that. That's when I realized it was better for me than striking, because striking, like, it never panned out to. I worked harder on striking, I think, through the years still than jiu-jitsu. It just never really like came out as my strong suit like jiu-jitsu did. But it must have been just because I liked it better probably too.
I hear that. I started doing like what was it, boxing? I think first, just cardio classes to do it, and I could immediately tell people were like, "Oh man, you love this. You should do more with it." And I was like, "No, this is good. I know what I am. And I know what I do, and I'm good just hitting this bag. This bag and I
Yeah.
are gonna be friends." So let's chat about this. I want to know. You know, I have the benefit of knowing you, and I knew that you were moving from San Diego, and I knew that was a huge loss for the San Diego community. But you had mentioned at the time that you had something good coming. And, you know, a few of us were really rooting for you, and we were like, man, that's so dope. We're pulling for you. We can't wait to see what's going on. So, talk to us about how you're making that transition from going to San Diego to, you know, putting that work in already to get your gym up and ready.
So I honestly wasn't sure when I left that that's exactly what I was going to do. That's why I was kind of being a little bit
Like,
ambivalent.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like I was wanting to, but I wasn't sure how it was going to do because here where we're at, like we'd already lived here. This is the last area of Georgia that we had lived in before we moved to San Diego. So I'm friends with the guys that own the gyms here already. So I didn't want to come in and like jump into somebody's territory and affect my friends' businesses that were already set up and stuff like that. So I first wanted to make sure that what the area was like when I got here and got on the ground, because I thought originally about Macon, Georgia, or Warner Robins, Georgia, to put the gym, which are two of the bigger cities close by, but Perry's like right there beside them, and it's really growing. Like there's a lot of people moving to this area from the other areas, and so it just seemed like a good up and coming area. There was not a gym that was really in the area I was going to be if we came here. So when that all came about, and I talked to my friends, and they were all like, "Yeah, man, you should totally do it. It's not going to affect us in any way. We fully support it." I was like, "Cool, man. This is great." So I taught at Cole Miller. I taught at his gym for about 6 or 8 months. He was really cool and helped me out. And he's been really, like I said, really supportive about opening up in the area and helping me, teaching me a lot of the things that he knows about the area as far as stuff like that. So I just started, really felt confident that I could do it and pull it off without like having to fight some crazy jujitsu war with a friend of because like oddly that was something that I was worried about, man. I don't know if I should or shouldn't have been, but like I still worry about those like old dojo wars, or like you still see people that talk crap about the gym across town or whatever, and I
It
don't
still exists. No matter how much we try not to make it happen, people still, for whatever reason, have issues that we as their students or as byproducts of them, like we are not aware of some history that was between them that you may not even be aware of. They might be like, yeah, dude, that guy didn't give me a haircut once and I hate him. It's like, why do we hate each other again? Like, I don't hate anybody.
it's a blood feud, man.
Yeah, poured into it. I'm like, I'm not the ride or die Capulets over here. Like, everybody chill the F out.
Right. We're all just wanting to train and have a good time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that was it. And then I do some camps in Costa Rica actually, and doing the camp in Costa Rica in October this year. I had about 8 people show up that came down to train, and that really like gave me the feeling again that it was just like, dude, I really can like set up a program. If I can get all this stuff done, all this legwork done to have this here, I can run a gym every day. And I think that would make me happy to be able to have my own space and just be able to do it the way I want to do it and not worry about what anyone else is doing. And if you want to do your jiu-jitsu a different way, that's fine. I don't care. I want to do it the way that we want to do it. And we're no gi. If you want to do the gi, there's other gyms up the street. You can train there. You can also train here though. Like I don't care if you train in both places. And so it just really feels like it felt like the right time to go ahead and pull the trigger and just get it done, because I still was like, have a lot of support from like being fresh from San Diego and stuff like that. So that motivation is really high. There's no value, or there's no way you can like quantify the value of the time that I had there working and teaching and training and stuff like that. So I feel like there's a lot that I can bring to people as a coach, as a person in the community that is going to be helping, like, hopefully direct, the the future of the way people see things around here, and like open up people's minds to more opportunities, to different things that aren't always the same or whatever. Because like I said, just being in San Diego, it really is like a melting pot, for lack of a better term, of just like all kinds of people from all over the world every day that have all kinds of jobs, that do all kinds of things. And so it's really cool just to have that vibe. And I want to figure out a way to do that here the best that I can, to have just this mix of all these really cool people that do all kind of really different kinds of art, or whatever you like. Whatever you like to do in your real life is fine, but we all also love to come and do, jujitsu together, and train and work out and stuff like that. And I just, like I said, I just felt like it was the time to do it when we finally decided to do it.
All right, so let's tell the people the gym is not open yet. So you were just prepping to open before all this was about to happen, right? Or before it happened.
Before Corona got here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had been working on the gym already. We had already got my mats in and everything. We're basically going to do the soft opening on April 1st, and start trying to bring in the first members and signups and stuff like that, and figure out our systems and things like that. So it really it really shut down right as I had ramped up like all the advertising and different things that I was starting to try to do. So it's really been weird, because I think there's still a lot of people that want to do it, because I've still been in contact with them, but the different part that's interesting but hard to also understand too, or not understand, but to explain and talk to people, that I don't know them yet. Like, I haven't trained with them. We haven't really gotten to know each other at all. So I don't know what kind of people they are overall. And like, if they're afraid of this thing, then that's their right to be afraid of it, and to not want to come in and train, and to not want to do that stuff. Like, I understand that. And that's been what most of the people I've talked to have kind of told me. They still want to wait 2 more weeks, wait another month, wait another little bit of time to kind of come in. And like, dude, I guess I understand, because there's so much misinformation about how dangerous it is or is not, and who may or may not die from it, and why. So I mean, logically, I guess it makes sense for people who don't know anything about jiu-jitsu. They're not missing it. That's something that a few people have actually like directly said. I don't know what I'm missing yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, they're not dying to get in there to train or whatever. And so with that, I don't have any guys yet, so that I can't do any like secret garage training, or start any like covert training options or whatever, So it's like, I've just kind of just been sitting on my hands for the last while. I got a dummy to grapple in the garage, but really, you can only do so many things with that thing before you look for him to hit you back or something, and he's just it's just not doing it. So it's weird, and I don't need to. Our landlord has been gracious, and honestly, it was good that we weren't open yet, honestly, rather than having been open 2 to 3 months already, because then that would have been an entirely different situation as far as people's accounts charging and uncharging, and members coming and going and never coming back because they decided during the break that it wasn't for them, or whatever kind of stuff like that. Our landlord, we talked to him. He was just like, I was like, we legally could not open yet. So what could we do in regards to maybe some lease, deferment or anything like that? And he was really cool. He was like, yeah, as long as it's like this, you guys are free to keep like pushing it back. So I'm not having to pay the lease right now. So it's not really killing me in that way or anything. So that's been really helpful too. So it's not all bad in my situation. So that's why I've been able to not stress out so much and not really push hard to like have to open like some people have, because it's not, my whole life is not dependent on it right now, thankfully. But going forward, I don't know how long it's going to take before people are going to be comfortable coming into a new place with new people that they don't know, getting close to them as close as you possibly can to someone, and then going home to their family or whatever. I don't know what that's going to look like and what steps we can take to make people feel safer coming back, because I know a lot of the people that train already are ready. They're ready to come back and train. If people that have already been in gyms for a while, like a lot of the other coaches that I talk to, gym owners, they're like, "Oh, my people are here now." Basically, like if I open the door, they will be here now. And so it's it's just a weird, different spot that I don't really know how to approach that next. Because like I guess we're gonna have to wait until the late phases to like really push hard on getting people in. But I don't know. The news is changing every day, honestly.
Yes, and I would say one of the things that is difficult, I think, for people to understand is the science evolves. So when science evolves and our understanding of it evolves, we have to be able to evolve with that in our understanding of it. So we have to have an equal part in being both the people who do our due diligence, we read, we try to inform ourselves as best as possible. For me personally, I feel like we have to do our best to create safety for whatever the next thing is. Because let's say all of this is wrong. Okay, everybody got it wrong. Then we go back. Well, then we've got to recoup economically. And so it's not just going to be an easy fix of like, okay, cool, now we have a vaccine. Do we train people who have vaccines or no vaccines? Is there a separate class for this or that? So, like, honestly, we're going to have to be flexible. I think the thing that you are nicely identifying, though, is that people with gyms have built-in relationships with their students, whereas this is going to be your first move with your potential new students. So you don't want to miscalculate or make the mistake of, oh, I didn't safely protect my students.
Honestly, that's it. That's been the biggest, like, that's why I've kept my mouth shut, honestly, about it. And like you said, I've been reading as much as I can. And honestly, I think I may have read too much because, like you said, there's things that say this and things that say that. And then there's a new documentary coming out with a conspiracy that sounds good because I'm pissed off today. And it makes sense in the logical terms of the way it comes out, and so I don't know either. Like, and the worst thing for me would be to open up and get someone sick and they die or something, and it was from my gym. Like that would be the end of it all for sure. Like I definitely wouldn't recover from that one. As a business, I don't think that there would be many people that would trust me as someone that they could look forward to keep them safe. And that's a lot of what jiu-jitsu is about too, right? As coaches, that's one of the biggest things that we're supposed to do is make people feel safe and make sure that they are safe. Mm-hmm. So it's super hard to not go and just like open the doors and start letting people in to train that want to train. But I am definitely not knowledgeable enough to say that that's the right move. So I'm not doing it yet.
I appreciate that, man, because honestly, we have so much noise rather than news. And for me, the first thing I could think of was, a lot of people who are speaking up loudly who sometimes aren't as informed, they just want to be heard. Mm-hmm. And conversely, I don't want to go back right away. And it's not because I don't want to train. So I wouldn't tell anybody to assume that. I want to get back to training as soon as possible. Because you know what? Fatty likes his food too, man. So
straight up.
I'm straight up beering right now and doing this. And I know what life is going to be like when I do get back there. And I've already anticipated for the youngins and the dum-dums who would be affected by it, if it is a thing, that they themselves would have a built-in few months of already training before I get back there and just like, oh God, no, this hurts. So for me, I think the dialogue about creating the safety is a much better use of our time. And I think that one thing that spoke to me was in your predicament, yes, you are fortunate in that you aren't open, so you don't have charges. But what it seems like to me is you are sitting on a prolonged feeling of anticipation.
Yes, I definitely don't like. That's it. I think it's going to be fine. I think everything is going to turn around in enough time for us to be okay. I've budgeted properly for some kind of calamity that I didn't see coming, and this was it, thankfully. So if this doesn't go past the calamity budget time frame and stuff like that, then we're going to be good to go. Even if it's a slow build, which is I feel like what it's going to have to be now. One thing I've kind of considered is maybe reaching out to the people who have families that want to train and maybe bring in each family with the parents and their kids or whatever. They come train all together, get the lesson or whatever and work out. And then, maybe schedule. I don't know how we could maybe that was one thing that I thought of as a safer way to go. But then when I thought about that, I was thinking, well, if I'm seeing 6 different families tomorrow, which one brings the corona to me to give to the 5 families tomorrow if this is a real issue that we have to worry about for 2 weeks at a time? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Whoa, hey, you know what though, dude? I've made a big push to people because I do consider it to be a real issue. I do consider it to be, at the very least, a real problem. So even if people want to dispute the numbers or they want to be like, not enough people are dead for me to consider this, I think to myself, okay, well, then we do have a problem we should address. And on my
second, guys.
On my side, I tell people, you know what? Whatever it is you need to do, those gyms that are making just the effort at a plan go a long way to me. So I'm talking like straight from when Corona hit to seeing like gyms. I think one of the first gyms I saw that came up with a plan to give you content was like 10th Planet Fullerton out here. And I saw Matt and his guys, they all got together and they said, we're going to Zoom every day. We're going to do instructions. We're going to film this. And I took that and I said, hey, you gyms out there, it's a two-way street. I will support you as long as I can, but I need you,
if you're trying,
if you are a gym, to do what you can to show it is reciprocal. And we are going to do this for as long as we can support each other. And to me, it was just the plan, the effort. And I think that's the next step as well is, listen, I don't care what your personal feelings are about this, but if you don't address those people who could be affected by it or who are concerned about it, then I think that's when it's irresponsible. So just the fact that you're flexible enough to have a conversation about it and that you're willing to admit like, hey, dude, I'm willing to talk to you and find out more about it, that's huge.
Dude, I mean, just this is another topic or another subject altogether. And I saw this in other things. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm a professional MMA fighter. I'm not an infectious disease expert. I am not any kind of expert in any other field really besides that, and maybe trying to talk to my kids off and on about how to be nicer to me. But that's the extent of my knowledge, really, like of in-depth stuff. Besides, like we said, reading and just trying to put together things from other sources and things like that. So I tend to try to look to see what the people who are smarter than me are saying and doing, and not even saying like on a national level, like I'm listening to the CDC people, but the doctors and the nurses that I know personally, how are they acting and what are they doing? And that's kind of also who I'm trying to listen to more, because that, I mean, again, it gives you a little bit of a feeling for what's, I guess, real and not real in some ways, because I know people that work in respiratory units that are like, people are dying for sure of some sort of respiratory illness that's killing people, and they may be treating it wrong, but they don't know that they're treating it wrong. That's killing them is the treatment or whatever. That's another thing I've heard. The type of treatment may be what's killing some of the people. Well, they don't. I don't know. The people I know don't know that that's what it is yet, or whatever. If they're doing something wrong, so something's going on that people don't know what it is, and I think that it's smarter to just kind of have waited it out and to see more information. And now I think we're getting to the point where we should be getting enough information in the next few weeks, I think, to know what we can do in the next few months, because we will have been through 2 to 3 months of this at that point. And then we should know what the cycle kind of should look like, I feel like. So I'm just kind of trying to patiently wait on better news, I guess.
Absolutely. So, well, here's my thing. So my interpretation, my belief is we have the opening, but then we're not done at just the opening. Then it's how do we both stay safe, but more importantly, keep these gyms good. So if a gym opens up and they say like, "Hey, we're up," that's not a win. A win is, are they in business? Do they provide that service to their community? So to me, I'm like, all right, if we even get to the reopen, dope. But we got to be prepared to continue to look after our own gyms and be very, very conscious of what it is that we can do to help. So that
I can't forget, yeah.
Day one, I don't want people to be like, okay, cool, back to normal. They're good, we're good, done.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting scenario. And again, for me, I think I'm gonna be forced to have smaller training groups and things like that. So my issues again not gonna be having to leave people out. I don't think it's gonna be having to maybe find the right people to bring in over time and keep them safe and motivated. And I don't know. I think, like I said, I think we'll get more information in the next couple of weeks that should be pretty like solid for people who have a brain to follow and to know what's right and what's wrong. And that's what I'm just really looking forward to be honest.
Well, this is a great opportunity to ask, because one thing that I don't know people are being asked right now. So I want to ask, when I'm doing these interviews, the folks who we're talking to identify what it is that you need. And I know you alluded to some of it being informational kind of stuff and given stuff like that. But when you do open up, I want you to be able to express to people who are watching this, what are you, as a person who is going to open a jiu-jitsu business, what do you need and looking for when you are up and able to operate?
Honestly, just good people. I just need people that are going to be consistently training, but that are also going to be smart about training, that are going to be not coming in when they're sick, don't like come in with a fever and cough ever. Like, people have gotten away with doing stuff like that in gyms for a long time because it's not really that big of a deal previously, but now we're definitely going to have to find people that are going to care about other people in the gym more than they're going to care about themselves and their own specific jiu-jitsu journey. There's so many different ones of us that are out here doing training, and for different reasons. I realize fully the like mental health issue from staying out of the gym and not being able to train, but we've all got to kind of consider everyone else and maybe just limit what we're doing for a little bit longer. Not saying don't train, not saying don't try to operate our businesses, but be more flexible with our time offerings, or maybe find like groups of people that live in the same household, that, like I said, that train together. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to need until we can get started, unfortunately, is the truth of it.
Hey, man, I totally understand. And like I said, it's just a different scenario. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on to chat today was because you have a different perspective than I think a number of the people that we're going to talk to. And it's not just saving the gyms that exist, but it's supposed to save the gyms that will exist.
that would need to hopefully exist. Well, we need to,
Yeah.
we have a lot tied into it, and it's not just financial. That's the thing, is that it's not just financial. It's much more than financial for me, and it has been forever. I need this for myself as a human, this has been a dream and a goal of mine for a long time, and I've worked very hard for it. So I need it for more than the money. I need it because the camaraderie. I need it for the community, and I think everybody else needs it for that too. So we need to save these gyms somehow, so the community can keep thriving and growing, and so that everybody that doesn't train now, that isn't part of a good team now, can eventually see what we're all so excited about and what we all are really like dying to get back to.
Stephen, well said. Let's go ahead and start to circle it down, my friend. Let's tell people where they can find you, do your plugs. And I know you're not open yet, but I don't know how people can support you, your brand. I'm just going to open the floor to you, dude. Do your plugs and say whatever it is you want to say, my friend.
Yeah, just Stephen Eakin. If you look, I think it's like right there. Oh, wrong one. This side at Dream 10P on Instagram is my Instagram page. That's the best place to get up in contact with me. I don't really sell much stuff. I have some rash guards and shorts and shirts, but I have a podcast, the American Dream Podcast. It should be on Apple, Google, Spotify. There's about 77 episodes or so of random things that you may or may not enjoy. But if you listen to them all, I'll get probably like 5 cents per listen. So that would be very helpful. I'd appreciate it. And tell your friends about us.
Beautifully said. Nothing captures the true essence of podcasting and a niche sport like, hey, listen to me. I might make a couple cents on the dollar. That'd be dope. I've got some coffee I'm looking forward to having in 2 months.
That's right. It'll add up. If everybody listens, just plays it. You don't even have to listen to it. Just put it on silent and just let it play, bro. I'm not going to know. I won't know.
I'm not. I don't know if you know this about me, but I get 2 reactions. I say this all the time, but it's never stopped being true. I get 2 reactions when people recognize me and they don't know me. They just go like, "I've seen you," and I'm like, "Hmm." So the 2 reactions are first, when I say like, "Hi, my name's Raph. I have a podcast." They're like, "Oh, I know who you are," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And this is like right as we're about to train. The other reaction is me going like, "Hi, my name's Raph. I have a podcast." They're like, "I know who you are." Oh, well, I guess they're a fan of mine.
All right then. So
cool. But I like to think I'm a door-to-door salesman. So that by the end of usually those training sessions, they look at me and they go, "You're okay.
You're all right.
I don't really like you, but you're fine." But the best part is you'll have people who trade with you and they'll try to beat the living hell out of you if they don't like you. And what I tell people is they'll see me roll with somebody who's like a fan of our show and they'll like almost be like mystified. They'll be like, "Dude, how did that guy get you with an armbar?" And I'm like, "Oh, he subscribes." So like if you listen, click and subscribe, you'd be amazed the shit you catch on me. But if you don't, then it's going to be a harder roll.
It's really hard for you. Yeah.
I'm not saying I
like that.
You. I'm just saying, if you subscribe, just look at the role you have with me and see if there's a difference. So that's
it.
Steven, I want to do this again when you're up and running, my friend. It's not going to be just one of those we send you on your merry way. We're going to do our best to try and put people in touch together. And, you've already got an amazing network. But it's important to me that you get to do something that is fair to you, is a lifelong dream for you to have a gym, and I look forward to seeing it when it's going to happen.
I really appreciate you having me out here. I wasn't even really sure that I wanted to say that much until I started thinking about it after we talked initially. I was like, what am I going to say? Because I don't really have anything to say about the struggle, but it's a unique position to be in. And again, I'm just thankful that times haven't gotten that hard yet for us, that we're really having to worry about being open or closed as a business yet. We're just going to buy our time and wait for the all clear, hopefully.
What are you talking about, man? The one person who I'm going to talk to during a pandemic, you think I'm just going to go past the guy who embodies the current form of hard times? You're the model, dude, my friend. You're the guy that's going to help get us through this. So if anybody knows anything about hard times, it's a man nicknamed the Dream.
Oh, that's true, man. Damn it, that was a good one.
Thank you.
The hard times promo is perfect now.
It is 100% perfect. And I fully expect some kind of footage for when you do open of you reciting that somewhere. I don't care if it's day of, but I better see some video of that. But Steven, stick around. I'm going to talk to you in just a second. I'm going to close out real quick. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Hey, everybody. I just want to remind you guys, we had a great conversation today with Steven. We had a great conversation earlier with 1J Pages, two very inspirational individuals who, I think have a lot to offer, and I think great perspective. Before you guys get on out of here, I know I can do the plugs for myself, but I want to put those plugs to other people. If you guys want to see more people being interviewed on our hashtag Save Jiu-Jitsu Gyms initiative, have them get in touch with me directly. I really want to do as much as I can to help people through. We've been scheduling interviews at least once per day. Today we had 2 amazing interviews. Who's to say we won't have more coming in very soon? But we've already been booking a calendar. Again, tell them to get in touch with me. I'm happy to help echo the word. And just to remind you guys, quickest way you can make a difference if you don't like the whole government thing, and I know a lot of you don't, or you just want to do something and you don't know how. Very simple. Take out a Post-it note, write down 3 names, businesses, places, things, whatever. If they are small businesses, even better, and make a direct impact on those people. That means if they sell DVDs or a product, buy it. If you can. If you cannot buy, you don't have the financial means to do so, find ways to volunteer for your gym, donate your time, do all that sort of stuff. And I guarantee you those are the small things that help. And I know people like Steven will appreciate it. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate your time. Continue tuning in tomorrow. We got somebody. Basically, just my Post-it is gone now. Tune in tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say. There. Boom. That's a great way of reminding you guys. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Rafa Esparza. We'll see you back on the mats eventually.